You're watching Inside the Right. So, Tim, we've got some major news out of Arizona. We've got yet another far-right state Supreme Court, which has ruled to allow a draconian abortion ban to take effect. This one written in 1864. So Kari Lake quickly came out with a statement disavowing the decision, which, of course, was to disguise her true position, which she shared here.
My personal belief is that all life matters, all life counts, and all life is precious, and I don't believe in abortion. I think the older law is going to go into effect. That's what I believe will happen.
Okay, but you approve of that? At conception?
I believe life begins at conception.
Okay, what do we do about abortion pills? What do we do about...
I don't think abortion pills should be legal. That's
not in Arizona.
All right, Tim, is she going to be able to run away from this?
Doesn't get much clearer than that, Brian. Boy, a lot of times Trump is good at kind of using weasel words, and he has this word salad, and his sentences are like streams that turn left to turn right. And so, but Kari Lake is like, that's like 8 words right there. It's just a straight thing. Like, yes, I support it. I support the territorial ban. Territorial, it's important to get that. It's because the law was in effect when Arizona was a territory. Arizona didn't become a state till 1912. So this is from before Arizona was a state, this law. I don't know. I think maybe one of the punishments was that you had to have a duel, out there.
Right.
Like when this shit was written. I mean, it's crazy that they upheld this. It's all Republicans on the Supreme Court there. And it was 4 that were appointed by the most recent Governor Ducey and 2 that were appointed by the previous Governor Jan Brewer. And so, I think that Kari Lake is in a huge bind here. She can try to get out of it, but the ads are that Ruben Gallego, her Democratic opponent, are going to be able to run are going to be absolutely devastating on this front. And Gallego has more money than Lake, similar to the Trump situation. Lake has not done as well fundraising, and so Gallego is already on TV. I wouldn't be surprised to see an ad with that clip on Phoenix TV by the time this thing gets up on YouTube. Who knows how quick?
Do you think voters buy it when these politicians revise their positions on blatantly unpopular issues like abortion? Like, is that redefinition that they're going for possible, or do you think that voters know that what they're trying to pull?
Sometimes situationally it's possible. I'm thinking about like gay marriage, for example. A lot of people change their views. Right? If voters can say, oh man, I changed my view on this too, right? Like, so I get it. It evolved over time. But in instances as blatant as this, with somebody like Kari Lake, who's so phony, obviously, I just think it's hard for her to get away with it. And we've seen this time and again where Trump has really done better than a lot of like the Trump imitators, because of just the nature of him being, a former reality show guy and like the whole taking him literally not seriously thing. Like Trump gets some leash to get away with this stuff, and I think we can talk about him and how much he'll be damaged by this as well. But Kari Lake doesn't get any leash, and I think that the voters are going to see right through this. And it was just an abundantly clear statement that she supported the 0-week ban, no exceptions, only life of the mother exception. And I just don't know how you wiggle out of it, especially when you now are going to be dealing with, if you're these Republicans, real life consequences from this, in Arizona in an election year. And it's just, I think it's just disastrous for Kari Lake.
Right. There's going to be more videos, more instances, more anecdotes of people who are having their rights restricted. And it's only going to get worse for Republicans, not better, as we head into November when more of these stories are going to come out. More rape victims, more incest victims, more, people who were forced to carry non-viable fetuses to term. I mean, that's just going to it's going to compound for Republicans. It's only going to get worse, not better. You had mentioned Trump. Can you talk about the timing of the fact that he had come out just one day prior and tried to hedge his bets by saying, well, I support making this a states' rights issue, only for Arizona to turn around and implement an 1864 abortion ban?
That asshole Trump has gotten good luck a couple of times recently, in these court cases and whatnot. And so it's nice when he gets some bad luck. And the timing on this for Trump is just a nightmare. I mean, literally, he knew abortion was a big problem for him. He privately, if you talk to anybody that speaks to Trump advisors or to anyone in that world, they say that like Trump doesn't care about this issue, obviously. And so he's been trying to figure out how he can get credit for the overturn of Roe with the base he's going to need to turn out, while also not any of the blame, right? And this is classic Trump. And so, he's been trying to strategize. How do I get out of it? How do I get out of it? He didn't have to put out a statement yesterday. He decides yesterday morning to put out this video where he's decided his way out of it is to say, I just believe we'll leave this up to the states. Like whatever the states do is right. And we'll see how that goes. And then one day later, a key state that he's going to need to win in November says, okay, we're changing our law to take it back to 1864. I mean, you have to laugh. Obviously, there's some serious like real life consequences, but just the horrific timing, the horrific optics for Trump, the fact that he just is stepping on a huge rake here on an issue that the whole point of his statement yesterday was trying to avoid something like this. And he just walked right into it. His spokeswoman was on one of those far right outlets today. I forget which one. And she said that she affirmed that the former president believes that we should believe in states' rights and that states should be able to do what they want. So he essentially now owns this 1864 law in Arizona, like just a total catastrophe and a self-own that was unnecessary for him.
Yeah. Yeah. Tim, is there any worry that with these abortion referendums on the ballot, like there are going to be these abortion referendums on the ballot now in Arizona, in Florida, in Montana, New York, a bunch of other states, that they can backfire in the sense that pro-choice Republican voters can have their cake and eat it too. They can protect abortion rights through the ballot initiatives, but then also elect their party and kind of divorce them from this issue?
I think that is possible in certain cases. And I think we might have talked about this with regards to Florida. Florida's a red state, so there's a lot at this point. And there's a lot of these kind of MAGA secular voters in Florida that don't really like the abortion stuff. And so they can go have their vote and still vote for Trump. There'll be some of those voters in Arizona. But man, the swing voter in Arizona is different, right? Like the Arizona electorate is very different, and and Trump and Lake are gonna need my people, like the former Republican suburban college educated types in the Phoenix suburbs, the John McCain voter, the Doug Ducey voter, the Jeff Flake voter. That's why they lost Arizona. I mean, part of it has been there's been Democratic excitement and turnout, young voters on campus, et cetera. It's not just this group, but it's been a pretty key group, right? That Kari Lake and Trump in back-to-back elections just hemorrhaged, support among this group. A lot of women, right? A lot of college educated women living in the suburbs, and that had been Republican voters. And I think that these voters in Arizona look at this now and are just like, we need to just throw these people out and start from scratch, right? And so I don't know. I think it's really bad for them in Arizona. I think there are other states, more conservative states with different kind of demographic makeups where your point might make sense. Ohio might be a place, Florida. But in Arizona, I think it's really bad news.
Yeah, I mean, I think people see the crazy on display, and they recognize that the abortion bans, these 1864 abortion bans, aren't a bug of the party; they're a feature. This is what you get when you vote for this Kari Lake type MAGA Republican, and that's the Republican Party that's taken over. So at this point, like you're not gaining anything by kind of extracting certain issues out of the party, because it's the same extremism that they're going to display on every issue. And so it's not just like you get to take out abortion and still have that with a ballot measure, because on issue after issue after issue, whether it's guns, whether it's democracy, whatever it is, they're going to have that same far right extremism on display.
Yeah. And in Arizona, just really quick, they're seeing this up close and personal so much because their candidates have been so extreme, right? Like they've had these very close races, so a lot of advertising. Like the voters there are very attuned to how extreme Republicans have gotten in Arizona, maybe more than anywhere, because there's a percentage of Arizonans that like that, right? And they've chosen it. And then there's another percentage that have just been totally turned off by it. And if you look at the state legislature, the Arizona Freedom Caucus or whatever put out a statement just a little bit ago that said, like, abortion is murder. We totally support this 1864 thing. No compromise, no anything. And so, I think that the fact that this is what this MAGA Arizona Republican Party wants is going to be abundantly clear to voters in the state. And we've seen the last two elections already that there's that maybe not as many as we'd hope, but there's a small majority of the state of former Republicans and then Democrats that are coming together and saying, no, we don't want this.
Yeah, which shouldn't be a surprise, by the way, because even these MAGA Republicans are out there saying that they don't want the John McCain type Republicans voting for them. And so the John McCain Republicans, you guys are basically saying, all right, no problem. Like, and they voted
we're gone.
accordingly. Yeah.
And they're hoping to offset it. This is the problem. They're hoping to offset it with like Hispanic voters, working class Hispanic voters. And again, I mean, do working class Latinos in Arizona want a 0-week abortion ban, life of the mother? So it's hard to see where the Republican gains are in this state when you're going that extreme.
Let's finish off with this. These ballot initiatives have been on the ballot in 6 different states now, and pro-choice voters have won out in all of them, and that includes states like Ohio, Kentucky, Kansas, and Michigan. So not exactly liberal bastions, even though Michigan does have a Democratic trifecta right now. Can you help me understand what Republicans are doing by continuing to back something that is so aggressively unpopular?
Yeah, they're stuck between a rock and a hard place in this one, Brian, because the Republicans are so nihilistic in the Trump era on almost every issue. It's kind of like, whatever, we just want to own the libs. But there's a key segment of the party for whom abortion is actually earnest, right? And they really do believe that life is a baby, and that and killing that baby is murder. And in a lot of ways, that allows them to feel like they have the moral high ground, against the Democrats on other issues. And so they can't sacrifice that. So it's not every Republican. Obviously, Kari Lake's a total fake and she'll say whatever. Right? But like, there's enough of the voters that for whom this is central that these MAGA Republicans feel like they have to, go along on this one. And then there's some of those people are elected officials and they genuinely believe this and they're genuinely radical on this. So, and then there's misogyny, there's some other elements that go into this, but I think that because of that, they're kind of stuck with this. And Trump was their best potential way out of it because people kind of get that he doesn't really care about this deep down. But he's just bungled it so badly. Yeah. And it was his Supreme Court nominees that did it, that I just think that they're stuck with this anchor and there's no way around it.
Well, I mean, speaking about Arizona and speaking about these pro-democracy Republicans who are defecting away from that party, that brings me to the point that it is so important that we build up this pro-democracy ecosystem. So for people watching right now, if you want to support the work that Tim and his team at the Bulwark are doing, please subscribe to the Bulwark's YouTube channel. I'll put the link right here on the screen and also in the post description of this video. Again, it's so important to elevate their voices so that they can give a permission structure to those Republicans who may otherwise have voted for the GOP to know that there are better people out there to vote for who are not going to support these draconian bans and this MAGA extremism. So again, link is right here on the screen and also in the post description of this video. I'm Brian Teller Cohen.
I'm Tim Miller.
This is Inside the Right.